Hi, it's Bill Hansen. I'm at the Whitney House. I have the pleasure of Helen Strom with me, and Helen's the first guest on our new series called "What's Your Flin Flon Story?" And Helen was born on Mandy Mine in 1936, November 22nd, 1936. I've just been informed. And tell us the story.
I was telling you before?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Yes, well, I was born right there at the Mandy in a log house, and my dad brought a doctor and nurse down from Flin Flon with a horse and sleigh. So he would have been traveling on a bush road because the lakes wouldn't have been frozen yet. And so he brought them to the log cabin. And the doctor did his examination and whatnot. Mom wasn't far enough along, so Dad took him all the way back to town, but he had thoughtfully brought a nurse with him.
That he left.
And he left the nurse behind. And so the day passed on, and come the time the nurse started to worry, maybe he wasn't going to get back in time with the doctor, but they did. And the doctor delivered me, and then my dad took them back to town again. Yeah.
So what are your earliest memories of Mandy Mine?
Very earliest is the house itself, mainly the house. I remember we had a cellar.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and little stairs going down into the cellar. And I remember we had a skylight in the ceiling.
Wow.
I remember that light from a little girl. And I remember as much from pictures, maybe.
Yeah.
Because Dad had cleared the backyard, and he put up a pole fence around the perimeter of it. And somewhere or other, we managed to get one of those glider swings.
Oh.
And I remember riding on the glider swing.
Yeah.
And we had puppies one time. And I just loved, I took the puppies for a ride on the glider swing.
On the glider swing.
I don't know how much they loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, like all the buildings that are gone. Like when I look at I look at this picture here.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the old mine site. So were they still actively mining in 1936?
In 1936, they weren't, because my grandfather really and grandma were there as watchman and cook.
Okay.
And that was a natural place for my dad in his marriage to get this log cabin.
Yeah.
So that's what we were doing there, and Grandpa just watched over the property and all the equipment.
Did anybody else live there?
At the time, Grandpa and Grandma still had family with them.
Okay.
So they brought up, from Prince Albert, they brought up May, one daughter, and 4 sons. And my dad was the oldest of the sons.
Okay.
And there was Dad, there was Mel, there was Bill, and there was Jean.
Mel, I think I worked for. He owned the cab company. No?
No, he was a bus driver.
Oh, okay.
And they had the bus restaurant down on the island.
I worked for him pumping gas.
Did you?
Yeah, when I
Did
was
you?
14.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I worked for Mel, yeah.
Oh, very
and
good.
Then the other brother had the mink ranch, right?
Yes, that was my brother Ted.
Oh, that was your brother Ted.
Along with who else was involved in that?
McKelkos?
No, it was Van Koon. I was just trying to think. It was Uncle Mel.
Okay.
It would be Mel.
Yeah.
And my brother Ted.
Okay.
And my dad
that
helped
makes
out.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what year did you move to town?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I had 2 brothers older than me. When they needed to go to school, we moved to town. Dad got a job underground at the mine, South Main Shaft. And in town, we settled in at mile 84.
Okay.
And I think the house number was 84 Green Street, I believe is what it was. It was Green Street for sure.
Yeah.
And Dad would walk to work to Hut Bay.
Yeah.
But we did have bus service that would come down the gravel street in front of our house. And I forget what was the original part of that question. I'm forgetting.
Just when did you first come to town?
Oh, when we first
Yeah.
came.
So
Okay,
from Mandy Mine to town.
Yes. Okay. So it would have been 19. Let's see. We have me at 36. It probably was 1940.
1940. Okay.
That's what I think.
Yeah, yeah. So where did you go to school when you started
Oh,
school?
Birchview School.
Oh, you went to Birchview.
Yes, we walked to Birchview. We were
So
close enough.
was it the big penitentiary looking building that I went to?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Hey.
It was exactly
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Do you remember who your teacher was?
Well, grade 1, strangely enough, I don't remember the teacher's name.
Okay.
Grade 2, we had a teacher named Miss Ragland. I don't know
Okay.
what that sounds sort of like Scandinavian or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
to me.
it does.
Ragland, but she liked to tell stories. She read from a book, and she
Okay.
was a little bit of an actress, I think.
Oh, okay.
She made big expressions, and,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she made it interesting when you listen to her reading. But she had a bad habit, and I'll tell you what it was. When she would walk the rows of the seats where we were all sitting at our desks, I presume we were being good, I don't know. If she thought you weren't doing what you were supposed to do, she tapped you on the top of the head with her sharp pencil. It kind of hurt.
Yeah, I'll bet. I'll
Yes,
bet.
it did. Nowadays, they would never do something like that.
So who were the first residents in Channing, and when did that?
Oh, the very first residents in Channing, among them was my Desjardins family.
Okay.
My mother was born a Desjardins.
Okay.
And Grandpa and her mom and dad, that was Alex and Mary, they were Mom's
Okay.
parents. They had previously spent quite a few years in Alberta, and Grandpa had a power engineer license.
Okay.
He worked at various mines out there, Alberta, BC, and my understanding also is that he worked on the boats of Moyi Lake that were used
Okay.
for freighting, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because you need an engineer on a boat too.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm, yeah.
Interesting.
So they were there in 1927, and Grandpa was part of the 27 Club.
Okay. Yeah. Same as Clara Scheider.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, right.
Yeah. Did you know the Scheiders?
Well, Mom did.
Yeah.
Yes, and actually, Mom worked for Mrs. Scheider.
Okay.
And when they lived in they used to call it Mile 83 then. You know.
Up there. Was that Mile 83 up behind the
that's
company?
No, that's 86.
Oh, that's 86.
And then there's 84.
Yeah.
Channing area was
Yeah.
83.
Okay,
Yes.
right. Right.
So Mom worked for Mrs. Scheider in the home. Maybe
Okay.
with the children. I'm not too sure what she
Probably,
did there.
yeah.
But, they took work wherever they could find it.
Sure.
They young people, and they
Yeah.
did what they could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Claire always tells the story. I asked her, and I said, how did you get to Flin Flon? She says, well, Frank and I walked in from Cranberry over the ice. And that's apparently a way a lot of people got to town, eh?
Yes, it was. That's true. Now the Desjardins, I don't know. Did they come over ice with horse
Well,
and
if they
sleigh?
came in
I
27,
don't know.
they either walked or they came with horse and sleigh.
Yeah.
But there was camps along the way, too.
Yes,
There
there
was,
was. I think McLeod had a camp
Yeah.
over on Schist Lake.
Yeah.
But here's my mom's story of coming to Flin Flon. She stayed on in the Pas, which the family had been in the Pas for a while. The Desjardins men were working for the railway in various capacities.
Okay.
And Mom was taking a bookkeeping course. So she stayed on to finish her class and I imagine, came up then in the month of June, probably. And the Grandpa went with rowboat from Channing because they had settled on the beach area of Channing.
Yeah.
Where they settled. There was an old sawmill building, they told me, and they were able to get in there and set up their first roof over their heads. So Grandpa went by rowboat across Athapap to Cranberry Portage, and he picked up Mom there.
Right.
Mom got to Cranberry Portage on one of those rail trucks.
Right.
They used to put people in the back of them, and
Yeah.
they'd give them a lift up that way.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so anyway, he picked her up, and she says she had a paddle, he had oars. She said, I remember the wind came up when we were crossing out the Pep. He said, paddle harder, paddle harder.
I can't. Well, that, if you do it in a boat going pretty quick, it takes, a couple hours. I can't imagine.
I don't know either.
It must have been all day.
Well, you know what they did, Bill? They camped under the stars somewhere.
Sure.
Over in a sheltered place.
Sure.
Just threw down bedrolls, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then came on into Channing the next day, mile 83.
Yeah. Down the creek. Now, in those days, it's my understanding the creek was walled with poles so that they could raise and lower the water level to get the barges through.
I didn't know that.
That's what I was told. I've never seen a picture. I'd like to see a picture of it. Because I know I go back and put the poles back so people can still make their way through. Because I know the path.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it for so many years now that when I go out, I just bring an extra pole because there's always one missing or gone.
Yes, you're right about that.
Yeah,
exactly.
You need to follow the poles to get through
You
there.
do.
Yeah.
And I remember as a little girl, before the age of 4, riding on that barge along that creek. And I remember how quiet it got on the barge. Everybody was, the adults, observing, watching their turns and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I was small. I wouldn't have remembered if there was a wall or not.
Yeah.
I had there was a railing on it.
Yeah.
And the thing was, we could walk around on there. Nobody would fall out or anything.
Yeah, they were pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So you basically saw Flin Flon being built up around you as you grew up.
I did. Yes,
Yeah.
I did. But always for me, Bill, was I felt closest just to the bush and things of the bush and the lakes.
Yeah.
That was my thing. I didn't spend a lot of time uptown on Main Street.
Right.
But when we lived at mile 84, my mother bought a sewing machine. I'm sure because now Dad had employment had the HBM&S. And she bought a sewing machine at the Singer store on Main Street. Now, with purchasing that, you got sort of a class or exercise to teach you the use of it, So she would go up on a Saturday afternoon. We'd go by bus. We'd stop almost in front of our house, close there. And we'd all go up. And the kids went to the Saturday afternoon matinee. And we went, Rex Theater was close to the Singer store.
Okay.
And Mom would do her lessons and maybe some shopping, I don't know, but we'd go to the theater.
How did you meet my parents? Did my dad work with your husband?
Yes, I believe Elwood did work with your dad, I think so.
And of course my mom was the nurse.
Yes.
So she was probably there when you were having babies.
I actually don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm kind of mixed up for a moment here, Bill. I met them in Arizona. Did you know that?
Oh.
Bill and what
Judy.
Was Judy.
Yeah.
I did. And you knew Vic and Ann Peterson.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we were in the same park as Vic and Ann.
Right.
And I think your mom and dad came over from California.
Yeah.
And Anne was putting on a supper, and there were 6 of us at the table, and they were there. Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah, because I worked in the smelter with Elwood. When I worked in the smelter.
Oh, yes.
Same time he was there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That would have been in 81. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So where you lived on Green Street, the Headlands must have lived pretty close.
Yeah. They were down at the far end, more toward the Channing turnoff.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
But Lunds lived up there. I met Gwen Lund briefly when I lived in that area. And I'm trying to think of some. Oh, Reg McGinnis. He had kind of like a repair radio shop or something he was on. And Bobby Russell and his sister Tootsie, they lived kitty corner across the street.
Okay.
Another Gary Mans and his sister.
Gary Mans and his sister.
Yeah, they were living there, and I played with his sister somewhat.
Okay,
yeah.
I know the Mans grandchildren, great grandchildren.
Do you?
Probably, yeah, because we had a Mans family live by us, and they were all related. The ones from town.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was just at Mandy Mine, 3 weeks ago.
Were you?
Yeah, we went out and
How did you get there?
side by side.
Side by
Yeah,
side, yeah.
yeah.
Pretty rough road.
Really rough road.
Yeah.
Like it's considering in the 70s I used to be able to drive all the way to the end.
I know.
And we'd party
I
a little
know.
bit out there in
Well,
those days.
and you know what? I used to pick up my mother, and we'd drive out, and we'd take a thermos of tea.
Oh, yeah,
And
sure.
that was our party.
Was there a lot of gardens out there?
No. The Van Kunitz had some kind of a garden at the end of that piece of ground, but
Okay.
there wasn't a lot of gardens.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That was later in, Mom told me, and then Mom and Dad never got here till 48.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So their first house, Mom didn't like it because there was no garden and there was no room for a garden. It was all rock. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
they bought our house in 57. Mm-hmm. They bought the house. Dad was fixing it. Mom went to the hospital, had me, and brought me home to that house on Norm Avenue.
Oh, Norm Avenue.
Yeah.
Well, now I was thinking of Mandy Mine when you asked if there was a lot of gardens. Now,
Yeah.
in town, I
In
think,
town, I
think
yeah.
that pretty much anybody that had a backyard would try to do something.
Well,
with
everybody
it.
came from the farm, so or
Yeah.
farming background.
That's true.
So yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and when we lived on Green Street for maybe 2 years, and then we moved down to 73 Channing Drive, and Mom
Okay.
did have a garden, and actually it was more like in the front yard. Oh, I think there was some in the front and the back,
Okay.
both. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I live in Mitzi Stein's old house.
Oh yes, I
So-
did know that. Shauna
Yeah.
told me.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So did you know Mitzi very well, or?
I had met Mitzi. She worked for Eaton's store.
Yeah.
And she worked with our Jerry. Jerry was selling in Eaton's store for a
Right,
while.
right.
And she used to always laugh and say, "Oh, he's so much fun." She'd
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mitzi was like Darlene and Reed and Bruce lived just 3 doors down from Mom and Dad, and they took care of all us kids. 'Cause
Oh,
they didn't
yes.
have kids of their own. They were just
Yes.
wonderful people. But-
Yes.
So, anyways, I think we'll run out of time, but I want to do this again. But I'm going to come to your house,
Okay.
and then we can talk with Elwood too.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds nice, Bill.
Okay.
Enjoy that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elwood's forgetful these days.
Yeah, but he's still full of stories.
He knows the old things.
He does. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he does like to talk. He'd have a beer for you, probably.
Okay, well, I'll do that.